And we are live. Yahoo! Welcome, my beautiful brothers and sisters, to the Aquarian Adepts, my platform, our platform, really, to become your spiritual server. And welcome to another episode of Starside Chats. This is exciting. We have the wonderful Jasmine Fitzgerald on the channel. You probably will know her as Gladiatorinsweats.
Yes.
Welcome.
I'm really excited. I mean, ever since my Peace Dealer chat, I've always just been a talker. I mean, I'm a Gemini sun in the 7th house, like on the cusp of the 8th. So this is what I love to do. I like to talk to people and bridging that gap between, you know, the esoteric and the material. So I guess I'm just really excited. And I know that, yeah, we'll definitely have some really enjoyable discussions.
Oh, I'm sure it will. It's already, and for those of you who are joining us, whether you join live or you see it afterwards, you spoke for probably about 5 to 10 minutes before, and I was like, all right, this is gonna be that kind of conversation because I'm a Scorpio sun, conjunct Mars, conjunct Pluto, Scorpio, in the 12th house, excuse me. So we were already bouncing a lot of information off each other, especially considering she has a Scorpio ascendant. So this is about to get really fun. Probably going to get deep, but it's going to be use your imagination because a lot of the things that we feel and stuff like that, it's hard to encapsulate them in words. So that's why we use the tool of our imagination. But Jasmine, just I guess introduce yourself and what are you about? How do you tap into spirit? How do you connect to spirit?
Yeah, so I mean, like you already said, my name is Jasmine. I go by Gladiatorinsweats pretty much on YouTube, on Instagram, wherever you find me. But I guess it's even really hard for me to describe because I feel like what I do is simple. I feel like what I really work with is astrology and tarot, and even just outside of that, often I just have these thoughts, and really they just start with questions. And I guess it's ultimately the art of inquiry, of just starting with this question that leads me off into just a whole adventure that can even manifest in my real life, to where I'm actually living out that question and actually getting to see that answer in real life, and then being able to talk about it and tell you guys about it. So, I mean, I don't know. I guess you can put it like shaman plus reader plus I don't really know. It's kind of hard for me because I feel like there's really no label. It's just I'm a player in the play.
There you go. I mean, I kind of feel that way too. So we give ourselves particular definitions, all this stuff, and they can get close to that essence. But it's really ineffable. It's there's no word to really describe when you kind of connect back to source or spirit, universe, whatever you want to call it. When you find out, I guess, your method, and then you're able to kind of convey that to other people and radiate that love outwards. It's it becomes harder to describe in the words. It's a feeling. It's subtle,
Yeah.
And I'm sure you obviously pick up on that. You pick up on the subtle hints and you want to communicate them out. I do the same thing too, but then people don't necessarily get them. And sometimes the hints are really big right in front of your face.
Right. Yeah, I guess what often comes to me is I realize that the idea or the thought is profound. And so I often just come up, or not, maybe it's not me. I guess it is ultimately me coming up with these metaphors or analogies, because I guess that's really the best way to try and translate these things, because it's just, it's really hard to condense something divine and pure into these words that we have, which they definitely have their value, but you can't really convey it through words, through our feeling and through other languages of light, which is just really interesting, as one of the cards I even pulled today was the language of light, of what we're feeling and things we're describing, which is this plutonic energy. Is just, like you said, it's ineffable. You can't really describe it. So yeah,
it's a very deep transformation. Especially, we do have Venus coming retrograde on Friday, I believe, and we all have been anticipating this transit.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like for me, this is occurring where it's in my 11th house. So it's like this is 11th house. This is me getting on here, reaching out to other people, wanting to, connect via the web and stuff. But it's me like kind of redesigning or refiguring out like, all right, so how can I connect to the world and be a better server? How can I connect to these relationships, these friendships and stuff? Of course, it plays out for everyone differently, but I think it's going to be a very powerful transition. I think it's awesome how, we had Mars, which you can in many ways kind of see as the masculine, and then you have Venus now, which is going retrograde. So it's like we're getting both sides of ourselves because we all have divine masculine and divine feminine energy flowing through us. So it's like now we're working on this receptive side.
Right.
And it's in the sign of Scorpio. So this might be a difficult time for some people because Scorpio is deep. You're going to feel like these deep currents. And it sometimes, like, it scares people sometimes. It scares all of us sometimes, and we all have different mechanisms for responding to that. Like, I'll just go ahead and, this morning I screamed myself awake one time. This is actually something that's been going on. I've been open about this, how I have night terrors where literally I will wake myself up involuntarily screaming. And then, like, for the longest time, I really didn't know why it was happening. So I became more aware of my dream state and started playing with lucid dreaming and astral projection. I don't really astral project much anymore. I did a lot as a kid. I do know that because I have multiple memories of just falling back, like seeing myself fall back into my body. But lucid dreaming is something that I really work with. And then, of course, I looked at my charts like, oh, that's all that 12th house energy. But it's just a mechanism for me to overcome whatever is happening in the dream. And it's gotten better. I kind of went off on a crazy tangent there, but
Oh, not at all. It wasn't crazy at all because I just feel like that's all a part of the process is even like just acknowledging the fact that they are fears, because I feel like there can be a part of us that wants to like paint it and just be very optimistic and be like, no, it's not, I don't need to be fearful, and just try and like paint it, that doesn't cut it when we're talking about Scorpio energy, when we're talking about Pluto energy. That doesn't work. And so that's where it's like, I mean, we always have Venus retrograde. We always have these different cycles, but it's the fact that they're playing out the way that they are, the way it's falling into place, at the time, at these, very close to the time these nodes are also going to switch. There's just so much in process where it's just like, yeah, really, there is no like advice, which is like, I've been trying, like, even when I'm putting out like daily content or even just for myself, it's just like, I feel like the same message is really going to be not necessarily the same, but it's just like there's nothing to do. There's nowhere else to be. There's nowhere else to run off to. And that's really, that's kind of all a part of that Pluto. It's just you're all alone by yourself with yourself. And for many of us, that is very scary and what we often run away from. We spend our daily life, trying to run away from it in, different types of ways. So yeah, I mean, I guess I can easily say maybe I'm excited for it in a very, like, I guess, masochistic way, but it's just, I guess the way I see it, it's just like, I know what's on the other side. Like,
yeah, I feel you. No, absolutely.
It's always going to be great, and not just great. I know, not just from people talking about it in the community, but just my own knowing and just knowing like something very transformational, but not just, if I'm not feeling it, everyone's feeling it, this means it's huge. So I'm just like, yeah, it's just, I don't know, holding my breath, but also just trying to relax in it at the same time.
Yeah, like I said, it's like, you really definitely want to see where this falls, within your charts and stuff. Or even just kind of feel into the energy itself, because it is that receptive energy. And this is going to be a time, really, this month where it's like, just this rawness, and we're just going to be standing before truth, and it's like there really is nowhere really to hide and stuff. But it's also it's going to bring about this deep passion. We're also working on this deep sense of compassion and connection to other people, and this deep level of intimacy that's going to be healed during all this, which is the positive. And if you can really feel into that, you know, it'll help you through this transit. But, you know, yeah, it's going to get deep, you know. And the funny thing is that Venus is at what, 10 degrees of Scorpio. It didn't even get into like the second decan of Scorpio,
Right.
or the third decan of Scorpio. So I'm like, you know, and it's you wonder, like, how deep can you go and stuff like that. The Scorpio is willing to go that deep, and I guess the deepest you can go is 29 degrees Scorpio to, you know, 0 degrees Sag. But it probably actually continues on. It's like all the signs are essentially one, but it's along this spectrum. So it's like that's why it's important to kind of look at your opposite sign, because it's like two sides of the same coin. And even like this week, I'm starting to film the October horoscopes. So I did Libra and then Aries. And I just had this feeling, it's like I feel like the opposite signs this week are just going to experience the same story, but like either the cover is different or there's like a slight detail that's different, but it's like the same story. So it's like, I don't know, but there's going to be like this story that universe is writing that's going to intertwine with all that. I think it's this collapsing of these timelines, these timeline frequencies that's like kind of collapsing in on itself. We kind of have been feeling this pressure. That's why some people probably feel, you know, the anxiety is probably a little bit higher right now. Just this apprehension, but there's also just like this subtle, beautiful tune that's under it. Like everything's going to be okay, but we are going through a major transformation, and you know, we all deal with it in our own ways. That's why it's so great that you know, seeing people become more aware, people taking more into consideration how to manage their emotions, process them like healthily and stuff, and also of course their mind and how that works too. But and how we communicate with other people. The more and more people that do that, we can really begin to raise the vibration of this planet. But it is as you said, we're in this by ourselves. We're in this alone. So we have to look at ourselves. We have to look at our own journey and be honest with ourselves, but have compassion and not, you know, be so judgmental on ourselves and other people. Because we're all just trying to do the best we can, you know.
No, that definitely. No, that definitely, like all of that. Like all of that really, not just resonates, but that's like exactly what I woke up thinking about when I was just like, not even just thinking about this talk, but I was just thinking about the day, and I was just thinking about even in my city, like we don't get rain. I live in Vegas, so we don't get rain like that. We don't really. I mean, we get like some storms, but it's just not like that. And as soon as Pluto went direct, and I mean as soon, like as the hours started to creep in, thunder clouds started to roll in, and it was just like it's there. And I was just like, I knew, I felt it, but I was just like, to see it, I was like, yeah, it's here. And I don't know if you can really see it, but it's just been overcast and just it's still very humid. It's still very like chill. It's just very weird. It's just very, and I can feel
it. It's very weird for you guys. I went to Vegas recently within the past couple of years, and yeah, it was very hot and dry and stuff. I know I went one time when I was a kid, but I don't really remember that time. But yeah, for you guys to get some humidity, you know, of course I'm here in the dirty South, so you know, humidity is like, you know, we just kind of adapt to it. But some days you're just like, the weather here has been kind of interesting too. It's like, I feel like Georgia's turning into Florida 2.0. This is like a total Gemini transit. I feel like I'm just like, as far as like, you know, tangent that I'm going on, this is my Gemini coming through. But yeah, I feel like Georgia's turning into Florida 2.0 because it'll like rain and then it's just like sunny, and it's done that before here, but not like this. Not like this. And apparently it's fall time and it still feels the way it does, but that's that natural transition. It stays warm here until we'll get like a random like heat wave in like November.
No, that makes sense. That's just like us. We'll get something randomly sporadic. But I feel like even just noticing these like differences where it's like it is a natural you know, changing of the seasons. Like it's not that we don't expect change, but it's like I feel like everyone can feel like this change is like, this is different. This isn't just a regular moving into the seasons and we're just gonna, you know, breeze on through New Year's. I feel like no, like this is different. Like this is definitely different. It feels just very like even like I was telling you, it's not even necessarily being stuck, because I feel like Pluto direct was like almost like unclogging everything that was just like building up as we were just like not necessarily just sitting in it, but it was just like we just got to a point where it was like, okay, we need to check over these energies. We need to check over these timelines. That's the way I felt it. It was like whatever was synchronistic within, like whatever astrology, because that's the way I was seeing it, was like, you know, whether you study Western or Mayan or you study sidereal, whatever it is you study, I felt like you could probably look back at these similar times. And I'm like, I feel like we're just like zooming into these like very potent, like societal, like not just times, but like things we've been wanting to look at, or things that we have been saying or thinking more so. Like we've been like, okay, that'd be nice, but no one's acting on it. And it's like the universe, the way I see it, only acts on what we desire. And so if we desired this, then this is what's happening. And so that's why we wanted this upheaval. And we'll definitely be able to say that after the fact, right? But
right.
Like, in it, we're just like, oh yeah, I did ask for a change in my life, but I didn't know it was going to come like this. Like, that's kind of the way I see it.
You know what? That's not, and like people might see this as like odd if they don't have that scorpionic fluence coming through. But it's like, I remember you said something about it's almost sort of like this masochism side comes out, or like this pleasure from pain side that comes out. And I'm like, Scorpio's very much so kind of a pleasure for pain. It's like sometimes we'll push ourselves to these limits and we'll hurt ourselves, but we know that we can heal ourselves. But then like we see how far we can go, you know what I mean? And then it's like we sort of get like this pleasure from like sometimes hurting ourselves, but it actually teaches this great lesson of, you know, how far are you willing to go? You know, how bad do you want it? And it's like this deeper sense of value. It's the flip side of Taurus, so it's this deeper sense of value. So it's definitely been a very interesting month. And like I said, I think everyone's going to respond to it differently. You know, we did ask for this. This is all orchestrated. There's no. I've been trying to do the best to adopt a victor consciousness or an abundance consciousness, because a lot of people operate from lack. They operate, from this role of the victim. And you know, we all have been hurt, and we all have been victims per se. But when you adopt that as like your modality, then like it's like you can't really see the other side and stuff. It's hard to. Especially when it's like certain things that fall apart, and we have to be able to look at those areas and those paths, because we all have them, things that blew up in our face and didn't quite go the way we wanted to. We have to figure out a way of looking at those aspects as the alchemist and finding the golden nuggets in there, and then just like, you know what, that was an intense experience. I did ask for it and stuff. And I'm gonna move forward. I'm gonna learn from it and move forward. But sometimes you can just hold on. And so it's a stubborn energy too. People forget. I don't know if people forget about, but it's a very stubborn energy to Scorpio as well. So it's gonna be a fun time though.
No, yeah.
I can't wait for Halloween. You saw my Scorpio come out. I just like don't even hold it back. Just bring it. I was like, it's gonna be a fun time, but also a very healing time. And I think if we're very intentional about our healing too, it's going to be even more impactful.
Oh, definitely. Like that's really what I guess I was getting to. Is like there's really not anything that you need to do. There's no like special meditation. There's no, I mean, everything that you do is always wonderful, but it's like the intentional like focus on what it is that you are ultimately like seeking, or what it is that you're desiring out of the transformation. Like that one pointed focus, I feel, will not just get you places through this like transit, but like it's definitely going to show you the power of it's not even necessarily about your mind. It's about like the divine will to do, to be, to actually carry the frequency that it is that you wish to to experience, as opposed to saying and waiting around for it to like come to us. Because what came to my mind as you were talking was Lakshmi, and I was reading a comic. It was in like I don't even know where I found it. It was on like my public library's ebook app, and they had this comic. But all that to say, I ended up reading it, and it brought to mind this idea of it's not just about being given something or like you're just gonna wait around for something, but it's intent, but also making yourself available in some way to receive. But also, I feel when people think about Lakshmi, they do think about abundance and wealth, but it's also, I feel her energy is also about making abundance from what you have, from what is already there, what is available, because it's not in a sense of a lack, but it's the fact that what is already there is there for you. Like in any video game, the stuff is already there, right? You just have to find it. You just have like, and then you might get irritated and you might go find someone to help you, or you might find a guide, which is what we do in our own life. We might ask for advice. We might seek a healer or a spiritual counselor in some way, or, you know, even if we're in church, we might seek our pastor, whoever it is we seek, right? Like it's just, for me, it's easy to see life in a game because like I've been grown up watching Legend of Zelda, and it's like I always fall back on that story, and it's just like it holds so true of like the power is, we already have the power. It's learning how to wield it. It's becoming aware we've already have it. It's having these tests that ultimately show us that we're able to do it, because otherwise, would any of us even really do anything if we didn't feel challenged? Would we move? Would we budge if we felt there was nothing to change? Or there's like, you know, there always has to be something in order for us to want to change, to want to experience something different. So I guess it's a real true lesson in not just accepting, but acknowledging the shadow, and acknowledging even a shadow cannot be cast alone. It comes from light. Ultimately there is no, the way I was even looking at it when I was watching a YouTube video was like, is there really a black, or is there just like a darker light? And it's just really interesting for me when I think of like these physics ideas and these like, and you apply them to esoteric understandings and knowledge. And I'm just like, if only people that said they only believe in science seen how much what I believe is already in science. It's just, I don't know.
It's the way to communicate it. And you just dropped a bunch of like truth bombs and all that.
I was gonna say,
he's just telling them secrets. And I'm sitting here, a part of me, like the conspiracy nut part of me is like, oh no, here we go. We're revealing secrets. They're gonna come get us.
Yeah, I was like, oh, I think
right now too.
Tangent. But that's how it comes for me. It's like you turn on the water faucet, you turn on the moon Pluto, and then the Gemini sun's like, all right, here you go, here you go, here you go. And then, but the way I see it is the people that need to get it or will get it, because otherwise it's not going to make sense.
Yeah, that's definitely not going to make sense. That's the whole thing about this. What I've learned is that the more I know, the less I know. So it's like,
wow,
you really, and this is not even me. That's like, it's like variations of that I've heard. Like I've heard my dad say, I've seen it in a book. It's like the further you go, the less you know. So it's like, and in a way, it's not supposed to necessarily make sense, but you're supposed to kind of like feel into like this divine guidance, and allow yourself to be vulnerable, allow yourself to transform. And I can't remember exactly where this is from, but I've heard of like this whole process of or it's like a kind of way of conditioning yourself to actually purposely embarrass yourself. And it's like not really embarrass yourself, but kind of do something that like put yourself out there.
Right.
It's kind of like slandering yourself before anyone has a chance to slander you. So it's like, and it's fun doing this because they're really fun moments. And it's like I've done it to where like I haven't done this in like a while, mind you. It's probably been a few months, but it was really fun when I did it. I think it was like last year I did this, where I just went to the mall and I had like this little speaker, and I was walking around the mall just singing out loud the music, like without a care in the world, singing, dancing in the middle of the mall. It was fun. It was incredible fun. And it's moments like that where you put yourself out there, and it's like you do cross that boundary, you do transform. I think what people are afraid of is that like the ones that don't necessarily get it or won't, or try to like remain like asleep and stuff like that. And there's nothing wrong with that. We all are on different levels on our spiritual journey. So it's like, you have to do you. But it's going to be this weird energy where it's like, oh, I lost my train of thought, but I'm gonna come right back to it. So, but we have to realize that even though we're transforming, during this time, we still have a piece of us that's coming along with it. I think it's like, yeah, a lot of things are falling away. It's like I even had visions this earlier today of like looking through rubble and stuff like that. Sometimes we're looking through the rubble in life, and we're trying to like find that phoenix feather so it can rise into the phoenix and stuff. And we've all have done that. But then it's like sometimes the phoenix feather will just appear to us when it needs to, and we have to like focus on what is already there. Like, we might be crawling through ashes, but there are trees around us that bear fruit, or there are people around there that can help us. Right. And I think remembering that, so like that energy coming from that metaphor, is really what's going to help us in this time. And it's a deep lesson it's a deep Scorpionic lesson. It's a deep lesson of this Venus in Scorpio retrograding. So.
No, that definitely makes sense. Or even referring to I was just thinking as I was playing this game of like, they usually have, a level prerequisite, before you can do certain things. And it's like, it's not set that way. And we know this when we're playing the game. It's like, I know if I were to send my dude in there with this level, he's going to get trashed. And it's the same way. It's just like, we have to be able to understand on both sides is that what we are ready for, it will come to us in time, but also that what it is that we're going through, it is only this hard because it's on our, like, we can do it. Like, it's already done. We're just having to do it. Like, the game was already structured. We're just playing the game now. And so it's just like, you now have to play the game, and it's not fun to have to, like, go through levels several times. It's
not fun to grind. People don't want to grind.
You just do the best you can, and as long as you do the best you can, that's ultimately that, the willingness to do your best. And I feel like you're always rewarded when you do your best. So
I think what happens is like, and I'm gonna weave some game metaphors in there, of course, like with Pokemon, but it's like, I remember I was watching My Hero Academia, which is a great show. If you have not already watched it,
yes,
it's a great show. It really is, though. I love it because I love superheroes, and that's like,
me too.
I want to create stuff like that. That's like my real like passion. Like, I love astrology. This is what I want to do, and do videos for other people, and do readings, and connect to people through the stars. But I really love like superheroes and TV shows like that, and writing. That's like, I'm a huge nerd. But it was like, there was like this quote that I heard in there was like, yeah, well, he's leveling up faster because he actually is at a lower level, but he'll eventually catch up to you. And then there's like, essentially he'll say that you guys will be kind of equal, but you'll be grinding. So it's like, sometimes when you're at that lower level, this is why I'm going to use Pokemon, because this will be a perfect example. It's like, you can have like a level 5 Pokemon, and they might be fast. You might get to level 20 fast. It might, you might not have to grind as much. But that next 20 to 40 is a little bit harder. And then that next 20 to 60 is a little bit harder. And then like, that 90 to level 100, it's like, it does become harder. You have to grind more, but the output, the reward is greater. So it's like, yeah, this game is set before us. And it's not like, if I'm starting off with a level 5 Squirtle, I'm not going to go challenge the Elite Four. I'm going to get toasted. And I know that, I'm being a total nerd right now, but it's true. So it's like, it's kind of recognizing what level you're at. And I think what's happening is that we are going to like this other level. I really do feel like our collective consciousness is going to this next level. And now we're going to like work on this level in this terrain. It's a very interesting way to look at things as a game. So
I just think about Aquarius, and I think about, what really made me think about it was even Mike when he started talking about it as like the playwright. And I was like, that makes complete sense. And even when I think about Uranus and I think about the Fool and I think about, you have to come to that 0 point or that point of wonder, that point of what if, that potentiality to be like, well, what if, to create whatever story or create whatever plot line or whatever. And so it's just like, it makes total sense. I guess for me, like, I just always see the symbology and just the patterns and everything. So for me, it was just like, it makes so much sense how I'm seeing things play out. And even with the planets and even within like the Mayan calendar, which I really just recently started learning about it this year. And I just started seeing, at least for me, how simple it was. But even within this wave spell, we're in the Blue Eagle wave spell, which is representative for me of Pluto when you think about like all that it represents. And so that's why for me, it's just like synchronicity is the language of the universe. And so it's like, in recognizing that, for me, it's so hard to feel disconnected. It's so hard to not recognize, like, even in your favorite TV, like, it's so meta to me, I guess, when I look at shows and I'm just like, people write this and then there's people that watch this and they enjoy it so much. And it's like, there's people that live this, and then you kind of laugh at them because they're living what you watch. You paid. It's just, for me, it's just like the love.
Because like, I know we're all superheroes, and I'm watching these shows, and I'm like, I've been there before, or been to a place like it before.
Right.
And it's like, and people will be like, "Are you sure?" That's very delusional, because that's like some Neptunian energy coming through there. But that wave spell you said with the Blue Eagle, I mean, that makes sense. I mean, eagle is a traditional totem animal of Scorpio.
Yes.
And then also, it's actually what I've discovered to be a pretty important animal for Aries as well.
Yes.
So it's like, you get these two perspectives, and they're both ruled by Mars. You know, Scorpio's co-ruled by Mars. So you have this blue eagle, and then you have, this other eagle. And it's like, you have like these two, right now we're kind of looking at things in like two different ways, and we're kind of like unraveling this deep mystery. So that's why it's almost kind of like how the peace dealer says to go full fish tart. It's like, yeah, you kind of need to go full fish tart right now. Just because, like,
you gotta go.
There's power in imagination. There's power in magic, and it's like, and I want to just give this out there because I've been like, I come up with like very interesting and pretty unique ways of, I guess, transforming or healing myself or making through things. But I thought about this one today because I was going with the whole everything, like, this is a video game, and there is such an influence on me. I recently purchased Spyro 3 Year of the Dragon, like the original one, because it was on the PlayStation store. And I was like, oh, okay, I have to get this. And there's just gems laying around in the realm that he's walking around in. There's just gems laying around and portals, and I love Spyro. It's one of my favorite games.
Me too.
I thought about, I was like, what if they're just gems laying around? And it's like, we're so focused on the green paper or the plastic or this money, but it's a deeper sense of value. There are probably gems scattered all around us. So I was like, what if I went throughout my day and just like, and just pick up gems, and I might not be picking up anything. That's what people will see. Right. But to me, I'm like, no, I'm actually like, this is abundance. This is prosperity. And then I would like use that and then like grow, and then of course share with other people because it's out here for the taking. So I'm gonna start doing that. I'm just saying, if you want to do that, if you happen to watch this, it can be a cool experiment to see where that goes. But even in my Pokemon Oracle reading, I actually picked Bulbasaur. Like before I even went into it, that was first. I was like, Bulbasaur, that's yours. So for Bulbasaur, what came up was Miracle. I think you chose Bulbasaur too, right?
Did.
Yeah. So this is about how can we grow. And it's like, realize that we are the miracle. That was the miracle of life. It's it's the flower of life too. It's like you're like one bubble, and you're trying to figure out how can I create this whole pattern. But all you need is that one piece. But you have to kind of figure out your puzzle piece first, and then that's how you're able to create this beautiful pattern and replicate it. And the universe responds, and it's a language of synchronicity. The synchronicity comes through more than just words can describe.
Right, exactly. I mean, even as you were describing how you're describing how you need to kind of further like know your puzzle piece. Like that makes a lot of sense, even when you think of that connection to Mars, of needing to have some understanding of who you are ultimately. And I think what even came to mind was I think you pronounce it Quetzalcoatl, the feathered serpent. The idea of the integration of that fire and that water. When I think of Pluto, that's what I think of. I think of the volcano, but also the cooling water that's able to, create some sort of creation from the destruction. That's ultimately, I mean, I guess that's what I felt when someone was asking me about my Kali shirt. And I was like, I really go hard for that energy, because I feel like there's just so much, not even misunderstanding. It's not even misunderstood. I think that is a scapegoat, because I think we completely understand we understand what's necessary in creation. We have mothers, we have we have so many examples of what it takes to birth something, to create something, whether it's a business or a person. What it is that we're upset about is like the work, the pain, what we were talking about, of that pleasure and pain. There's a pleasure in the pain because there's an appreciation, there's a honoring of that feeling, of those emotions. There's a befriending of these shadow darkness aspects that for other people it is only afraid of, because there's not personally for me, I think it's more of respect. Because like I said, I don't think we don't know. I think we just aren't appreciating it because we're not accepting the full picture.
Yeah, and it's yeah, I could definitely see that. And it's the way that you just described that was just very well. And it's like, yeah, it's about befriending our shadows and stuff. And sometimes people don't want to befriend their shadows. And sometimes we can allow that side to really loom over us. But then it's like, when you learn to, like, it's just shadow work and the shadow integration, it's like people don't really want to do the shadow work. People want to avoid it. But we are going to be doing shadow work, like, because of this retrograde period. Because retrogrades are really just like, all right, I like to think of retrograde as like a review period. Like, we're reviewing. Right. So it's like, now we are all really reviewing this type of energy, this scorpionic energy, where we do have to, show some compassion for ourselves and some mercy. Look at our shadows, befriend our shadows, and really, a lot of times those shadows will kind of like, we'll address them, and then I have like this really cool image in my head where it's like all of the shadow just kind of like floats away, like kind of like butterflies, and then it's like an aspect of your younger self, your inner child, that was just upset about probably what you would see as a small detail, but to that child, it was like everything. Yeah. But it's like, it's going back to that child and healing that aspect, and we're like, it's okay. I understand why you felt that way. Mm-hmm. But look at how far we have come. Look at what's happened. I'm okay. I'm still standing here. So I'm not going to leave you. And we had to go back and rescue ourselves. Like, it's, because I have a hero complex. I will admit that. But like lately, what I've been, and I always have, and I probably like, it's like, I really just like the whole idea of the hero. But lately, what I've been doing and stuff, and of course, I do have aspirations of writing and creating this world of characters and stories and novels. But right now, I'm working on being the hero for myself, showing up for myself. Mm-hmm. And like, it's kind of weird because you've been mentioning that Aquarius energy where, we have Mars, which I think the heroes of the zodiac, if I had to narrow them down, I mean, we're all heroes, but it's like, it's Aries, and it's, I would say, Aquarius, and I would say Sag. I would say those are like kind of like the heroes. And it's like, we don't have this, I mean, we have the South Node in Aquarius. Mars is almost out of shadow. Mm-hmm. So, and then we had Chiron, which was in Aries for just a little bit, and then went back into Pisces. And now we have Uranus coming back into Aries. So it's like that hero energy is kind of void. So it's like, and it's not void. It's not void. It's just, it's subtle. It's like we're all looking for someone to come save us, to be our hero, but we have to go in and rescue ourselves. So this is going to be a very important time for teaching that. Yeah. So how did you stumble into the Mayan astrology? Because I'm very interested. Because I looked mine up, and mine was like yellow solar star, and I was like, well, that's kind of interesting and stuff. And I know my Mayan sign is the eagle, but I think it's like you have like a Mayan sign, and then you have, I guess, is it the wave spell and stuff? Like that's like a archetype of it. I haven't looked as much into it, so could you
Yeah.
elaborate?
Yeah, a little bit. Well, just starting with how I got into it. I mean, I had learned about it maybe a year or so, a year or so back, and I did the same thing. I looked up my information because that's ultimately where all my journey started. Is like, oh, well, how does it pertain to me? And so I, looked at myself, and it definitely resonated with me, even then. But for whatever reason, I guess it wasn't the time. And fast forward to this year, and I believe I was watching one of Aluna Ash's videos, for anyone that knows her on YouTube, and she had mentioned it, and it was just kind of like a lightning bolt idea, and I was just like, I remember that. And I went back to look it up, and I was like, oh, that makes a lot of sense. And just the more I was like reading about it online, I was just kind of searching for information about it. And there really, I mean, there's a little bit of information, but most of it comes from like the books made by like the author, the person that ultimately channeled the information, and people that read his material and came up with their own kind of interpretations, or ultimately can be like the same, like copy things. And so it's just like I wasn't finding anything new. I was just like, all right, let me get to the source. And that's, for me, I'm just like, if I'm really into it, I bought the almanac for the year so I could follow along for the year, and I bought the year calendar because I was just like, I wanted to see how the synchronicity played out. It's ultimately playing the scientist, really, of all right, I'll see how this works. And I started tracking it within my own personal life, and I was just like, wow, like this makes a lot of sense. And going back to what you're talking about of, I guess, the two parts, or I guess the two main parts would be, your actual signature, and then your personal wave spell, which would be like the cycle which your signature falls in. So even starting with myself, I guess, just to kind of give a brief explanation of how it would work. So for mine, I'm a white crystal dog. So first, the white dog is just that energy. And I think it's really beautiful that they stick with, animals, or like some sort of like natural entity, because we can all very think of, just think of dogs. We think of loyalty. We think of unconditional love and trust. We think of companionship. You think of those kinds of things. And so that, I feel like that definitely speaks to me and my energy. I definitely feel that like story, or just that wanting to express unconditional love. And crystal would be representing that crystallization, that actual manifestation of that energy. And so that's kind of what I feel as like an actual, just a walking ball of love, if you want to put it that way. And then just to kind of fit in my personal wave spell is the blue storm wave spell, which all of that, even for me, talks more to the Piscean energy, but the blue always for me represents like the water. And so to have that water as my wave spell, and then this air for my signature, that for me represented so much of my chart. Just, I'm a Gemini sun, and like I said, Scorpio moon. So it's just really interesting for me to be able to see how it played out. And I got more into it because I just started to see, or I started to just feel how we can overcomplicate things. And I just felt like this is, I understand Western, and I've, gotten into Vedic, like I understand them, but I just started to realize like, this is actually a lot easier. Like you only really got to know these energies, and you can just think of these animals, or think of a star. And I think of Aquarius. I immediately think of that, like when you were talking about your energy. So it's just like, it's just really interesting how I just really found that it resonated with me, and I thought that it would resonate more with other people, to kind of give them something they can kind of understand, as opposed to like if I just told them, you're this sun, moon, rising, and you have these aspects, and you have this and that can be a lot to throw at somebody. So
yeah, and that's what I'm trying to run into, is like, how can I, bring this information and relay it, because I can get really into it, really excited.
Yeah.
But making that bridge so the other individual understands. Like I speak like astrology and stuff like that. Like it'll just come out in random. Like, oh, that was my this or that was my that and stuff. But it's like finding that bridge so other people who maybe want to kind of know about astrology, but kind of put in that corner of things where they don't know if they should go near it. It's like, how do I begin to radiate the information in a way that brings people in? I think the interesting thing about the mind energy, because you mentioned the Quetzalcoatl, and that was like, I remember at one point, like in middle school, I was obsessed with that. I was obsessed with the Quetzal. And it's like the way you said it's like how you kind of relate to Scorpio. I was like, oh, well, that makes sense. I can kind of see that. But it's just, it really is another cool way at looking. And I was even noticing that the wave spells, I'm guessing they happen for more like, 12 to 13 days or so?
13 days, yeah.
Yeah, and that's a really, because like numbers, of course, everything is math too, play into this book. So like 13 is a very powerful number, but it also is like one of those numbers that we kind of like, you have a little bit of apprehension about, It's like, because it's like you're going to the next level, but it's like this bridge between two different levels, So it's the fact that it kind of works on that system is really interesting. I kind of vibe with that. That's why I like kind of including different aspects and elements of all of them. But yeah, mine was Yellow Solar Star, and I don't know if I saw the wave spell, but I guess I can look that up after this, which is very interesting.
Yeah.
Let's see. I feel like we've hit a lot of points. I know we've dropped, I know you were just speaking all kinds of deep occult truths, and I knew this was gonna happen. I'm like, wow, did they catch that? Did we catch that? It's like I know I'm probably not gonna catch everything until I go back and watch this. But it's it's an interesting energy to try and describe. Like I said before, it's hard to put it into words, but it's very much so needed.
Yeah. I mean,
aspect.
I guess even just like for me, I guess, because what I've been even thinking about is because I guess I didn't even talk about how the transits have really been affecting me, because Pluto has also been conjunct my Uranus-Neptune conjunction.
Okay.
So it's really been bringing these just not just widening my world to where I'm really realizing how I am experiencing myself in this very weird meta way, but I'm also getting just so many just downloads where it's I'm not even realizing just how apparently profound it is until someone else says it, and I'm just that's exactly what I was thinking about. And I'm just amazed that also the way that I guess I feel it's also kind of kept trying to keep it within within a group of people, where people have to pay for it to reach a certain way, or someone has to tell you've reached some sort of enlightenment, or there's just been so many new age ways of things where I've just been that just doesn't make sense to me anymore. Just even how Mike was asking me about protection, and I was just it's just so funny that he was asking me about that, because I'm just honestly, I've been reconsidering and completely Pluto just completely blew my way of seeing things, and
I'm sure, yeah,
just all the way. So I'm just protection. I'm that. Honestly, I don't see it that way. I don't see things as evil. I just don't. It doesn't vibe that way. And I actually brought this out because I wanted to actually show it, because I wrote this declaration.
Okay.
About I didn't want to consent to any thoughts or ideas that didn't come from me, or I was, it's supposed to be my protection, right? That I was working on. And I wrote the date, which is actually just funny, because this was August. This is how fast Pluto was just completely blowing everything I thought away. And I was just reading it, and I'm just my ultimate understanding lies in the understanding and belief that I am God. I am experiencing myself. I created this experience so I could experience myself. You have to create a shadow to experience these differences so you can experience there. You know, you have to have that polarity. And as I was reading this, and I'm just like, I'm saying I no longer consent to thoughts that don't come from my soul, that don't come from source. And I'm just like, but everything comes from source. I'm just like, so it just got to that point where I was just like, so then what am I protecting myself from? Like, what am I? It was just like, it's got really, yeah, very ego death, very like, yeah, for me. And it wasn't scary. It was just like, I guess these are the kinds of things people try hallucinogenics for, but it was just like, this was like a transit for me. This was just a Pluto transit.
Pluto transit, yeah. I mean, I understand that just because, like, sometimes you will push yourself, and it's like you do go through this bit of depersonalization aspect. But you're right, you do have to create this aspect to have this experience of yourself. It's
Right.
the way that you said it, and we're all realizing that we all are that. So
Right.
it's like that is hard to encapsulate. You know, so a lot of us who believe that I don't know. It's like, yeah, we have to recognize that divinity and just kind of like walk alongside, and walk like with that source and stuff.
Yeah.
But we also are that. Like we're a reflection of it, right? And reflections can go down and they go up and inside, outside, all which way. It's sacred geometry. How it's kind of presented and stuff. We see things around us, but like there's sacred geometry in all of this stuff.
All over.
Even stuff that doesn't seem very symmetrical. There's sacred geometry in all of this.
Right.
And it can be scary because people are they don't necessarily want to have that sort of while it does represent the Phoenix rising in this creation, but it also represents this destruction. And it's it doesn't necessarily mean that it's done. And sometimes we can feel really buried right now, but it's also a time where it's because you got to think about it. This is the time with the Scorpio energy coming and stuff, the fall time. Things are going to start to hibernate. Things are going to start to get closer to Mother Earth.
Exactly.
That's like the flip side. That's the Taurus. Things are going to start to get closer because we need that heat and that warmth, so we can spring out in the spring and be, more full and vibrant. Not that we're not now, but we need this time to regenerate. We need this time to kind of come in a bit, but also it's like this intense upkick of energy too. It's going to last us through the winter months and stuff, and then we rise again. It's all a beautiful story, really. That's just kind of the way I see it, but that's because I have that Sagittarius ascendant, so I'm always looking at things as a story.
Yeah.
And kind of seeing myself as a hero in it, in the story. And sometimes I've been the anti-hero. Sometimes I've been the villain. I think we all have and stuff. As far as because Sagittarius is Jupiter, so in many ways it kind of rules the high mind and stuff in ways. So, but it's that that mutable fire energy too. So I like to think of Sagittarius as the DJ of the zodiac. Whereas Pisces is kind of like the music and definitely the crowd. But I like to think Sagittarius is kind of like this DJ that's mixing this music and stuff. But yeah, it's another way of looking at it. But there are times where, like I said, I felt like the hero sometimes, or I felt like the anti-hero. Sometimes I felt like the bad guy. We all have to play the bad guy sometimes. Sometimes we have to play bad guy to ourselves, not necessarily with other people. And then we'll be sitting there monologuing about how we justified it. And then we'll be like, okay, but, we do have to, move forward and stuff. Right. And sometimes we'll catch ourselves in those moments where we're monologuing to ourselves. It's hey, just do it, because it's still that Aries influence, but it has to come from this deeper, compassionate place. I think that's why Venus is here, because it wants to bring some type of balance and harmony and some synthesis to those first 10 degrees of Scorpio, which is very much so needed. Saturn went through here, Jupiter went through here. It's still in Scorpio, but it's getting towards the tail end of it. Right. We've had a lot of work with this plutonic energy, a lot of work. It in many ways, you could say that a lot of the hard work. I mean, there's a lot of hard work to come because you still have Capricorn. But as far as like that, especially like that deep, like emotional undercurrent energy, we've done a lot of work and stuff like that. Now it's like we're kind of putting the pieces back together again.
Right,
That's right. This undercurrent of like there's a lot of pressure, but it's okay. You know, it's weird. And I think it's like we're going to have challenges, we're going to have hurdles that we need to overcome in the future. But it's like if you walk this path and you walk in your truth, you know, aligned with the universal truth, you're gonna like just really attract some incredible miracles into your life every single day. That's why like one belief that I kind of adopted is that like, you know, when I look in the mirror, I see a miracle because we all are. Because if you look at the scientific, I guess, statistics on how rare is it that you were born, it's like a ridiculous number and stuff. Right. And yet we look around, it's like, well, there's so many people here, but like, yeah, but it's still saying something that like you came into this experience, and it's like you really are a rare gem. You really are unique and one of a kind. So I think that we're all kind of getting like this new card from the universe that we can play in this game, or we're just becoming aware of it. It's probably the latter. We're becoming aware of this card, but it's blank, so we have to try and figure out this new puzzle piece.
Right. That's definitely how I can see it. That makes a lot of sense. Or even just like this happening at this Libra season with this having Venus, you know, we're getting to renegotiate our contracts in a way. We're getting to not even necessarily negotiate, but it's like we're getting to like look at it and be like, you know what, maybe this better. This seems more harmonic. You know, I don't believe in that anymore, or that doesn't, you know, that doesn't work with me anymore. Or actually, this behavior, I realize like it's not even about. Or I guess you can look at it as like you know, that teacher student like report card kind of way. But I guess for me, it's just like it's just much more nurturing. Ultimately, it's just like it seems like a tough love because when we're honest with ourselves, all of these things we're taking a look at are things we've already known. So that's why it's like, for me, it's like it's tough love because it's not really like, oh, you didn't know, you just completely had no idea that these feelings were there. I feel like we had been getting the hints, and it's just like, well, I had let you know what was coming. Now I'm here. Like that's how I feel Pluto retrograde was. Like,
yeah, no, for sure. I mean, like since you had it, I guess it was in your first house, right? So you personified it. Like you acted the Pluto retrograde. For me, it's my 12th house, so it was just like a very divine, orchestrated, very, very particular synchronicities. I'm not talking about just 11-11.
Right.
So great. Those synchronicities are great. I love those. But when you really start to walk this path, you'll start to see synchronicities. And you know what I'm talking about, where they're fine-tuned to you, that only you and your wild, bad scientist mind can come up with, and you see it. And when those start to happen more often, you be like, okay, I'm on to something here. But it's like, you still kind of just like barely miss it, you know? It's like, but it's fun. It's a fun game that you kind of find yourself. And it's like, you don't even try to necessarily intentionally try and trap the synchronicity. Yeah. It just falls. And it happens more and more and more. These very particular synchronicities. Like there was one that was really interesting where I was on my way to work and listening to Dolo, and he was talking about, he had mentioned like something about a wizard or being a wizard. I'm not sure what exactly it was, but he mentioned that word. And then in the car in front of me, the license plate said wizard. At that moment, I'm like, really? That's very particular. That's very particular. The odds that someone actually would have a license plate that said the word wizard, and then Dolo mentions it. I'm like, okay, today's gonna be an interesting day. I was like, that's how the day began. I was like, wow, okay, like, cool, let's go for it.
It's definitely interesting. Like we're all getting to have that realization that it's not about us, but that it is about us. Like we are the main character, even though we are part of this grander co-creation. Like it's you do matter. It's like if there's anything I wish I could like not even express, but like if I could just like drop a piece of knowing that like you do matter. Like it's not about like how much, it's not even just about how much money you make, but it's not even about being like touching so many different people. Like if we actually like understood or even just honored, you know, how every interaction affects everything, how everything is a perpetual domino effect on everything, I feel like there would be a much greater appreciation, not just for our life, but like what it is that we do, like, you know, like for our actions, for everything. If we really understood, or not just understood, but accepted that we aren't the victims, like, or not even that we aren't the victims, but I guess the way I put it in my video today was like, we are the players on the game board, but we're also playing the game. We're moving the pieces too. Like we're integrating both of those storylines.
Yeah,
you know, ultimately. So
we
it's
are. That's like, as soon as you said that, I was just thinking about that. That's like something that I'm having to like, I guess, kind of overcome too, because like I know it and I played it out. It's mostly been through like the stories that I've written, right? Where like I probably have started like so many different novels because I have all looked at these characters, and then it's like I'll kill off a story, or I'll kill off these characters, not kill them off, but like I won't work on it anymore. I won't see it through to the end, and then I actually legitimately feel guilty about it. So I felt like I had like this backlog of information with these characters and stuff, but it's like it just wasn't the right time. And I think that's another part of this lesson.
yeah,
People forget that, you know, with Pluto, you know, of course, being here in Capricorn, and now that Saturn's here, we got that Saturnian influence. People forget that Saturn is exalted in Libra. So it's like, you know, it is about us. But if you really want to establish those deep bonds and those deep relationships, where you have this powerful communication, but you know, Venus does still like to be pleasured. It still likes to find the things in life. It's like it does require some hard work to like really create that. You know, it actually requires some hard work to like. I feel like, especially when it comes to relationships, I feel like, you know, and of course, I guess it's different for every individual and stuff how they approach it. I think sometimes people give up too soon. I think sometimes people like wait too long and stuff. But you know, there's like all these different like terms for different kinds of relationships, like soulmates, twin flames, and I kind of vibe with it. I kind of don't like. It's not like I don't vibe with it. It's like I feel like it's like we have to look at these in a different way, and I feel like a lot of people, especially within the spiritual community, they won't necessarily. They like, I don't know. I feel like they're a little bit afraid of intimacy. It's like we're kind of flirting with it within the spiritual community of these deeper bonds. But if you actually knew what these deeper bonds were, like sometimes people don't necessarily want them. It's like everyone wants a twin flame relationship, and there's a part of me is like, yeah, you do. But then there's like a lot of part of me which is like, not that it's dominant. And sometimes you want to disregard it, but it's like, oh no, you don't want a twin flame relationship. You know how tiring that is. You know how frustrating it can be. It's very beautiful and great, but it's like it's hard work. These relationships, these deeper divine relationships, especially, people want it so much, and then it's like that's why it kind of just activates. That's why it's just divinely guided. You know, it's like people who are pleading and like I guess yearning for those relationships, wondering when they're going to meet their twin flame or soulmate. So it's not that I don't believe in them. I think it's just like I think, you know, like my personal opinion, in my experience, when you shift the focus back from you and begin to work on yourself, it kind of just fall into your life somehow. Yeah. And it's not necessarily all romantic. Some twin flames and soulmates, especially definitely soulmates. Some of them are your pets. Some of them are your parents. Like my cat's right here, right now, and I know that me and this dude go way back. Like, this is not the first time that me and my cat, and we probably have played the other role around, but I also know that we've gone on a lot of adventures together. It was kind of funny because when we got him, like, I don't know, my fiance is convinced that he's my cat, and time again, it proves that he is my cat. Because, you know, we're very much so alike. But then he does have these annoying tendencies, and I'm like, yeah, I kind of do that too, though. So I can't really say anything in my own way. So
that's having kids. Oh my gosh!
I can only imagine. I don't have kids yet.
Oh so. My god! Like, I mean,
my mother. I know that they are a mirror reflection of you.
Like, I mean, like I said, maybe it's just me and my plutonic energy that like sees so much deeper into the truth of that. But I'm just like, I feel like it's always been true that like children, at least when they're, allowing you ultimately, like like I said, my entire understanding of things is like blown apart. So it's like, I don't think we have kids. I think kids or, souls allow you to raise them. They allow you to practice some sort of lesson in love. And so it's like seeing like the lessons that like I don't even want to say forced, like the lessons that like I was really urged to learn just through my kids. My kids are young. They're 3 and 1. But it's just like, I'm just like blown away just even at how much I've grown. And just, it's like, I don't know, I just feel like we're so focused on like, we're looking somewhere else. Like we're just like missing the boat. Like somehow we're missing the point in everything. Like we're so focused out here when we're not looking in here. And like with our kids, we're focused on like them when we're not looking at ourselves. I'm like, like our kids, like we already know kids mirror ourselves. Like they pick up on everything, but it's just like, I feel like I don't understand like the dissonance, I guess. I just don't, for me, I'm just like, how do we not see? Like, how are we yelling at our kids for doing things we're doing? Like, it's just so weird. It's just so, I don't know.
Yeah, there needs to be reform, and obviously, I can't really say I'm not a parent. I'm sure I will go through those same things,
Right.
but I think we're also are trying to. We have to realize that all relationships are transforming. That includes the parent-child relationship. And you're playing that out pretty in a very much a divine way, because like I guess if you're a Scorpio ascendant, you have that Pisces fifth house, right?
Oh,
yeah, so it's like
yeah, actually.
So I mean, this is coming from a deep space and a very magical place, but it's also dealing with your heart and your passion stuff.
My son, he's doing
that. It's definitely going to be a very because of course you probably definitely feel that how they pick us because that also is that Aquarius influence, that fourth house. So that's like childhood and stuff. So it's like, yeah, I do believe that we pick our parents. I definitely believe that we pick our parents, and that's kind of a weird belief that people like when people will hear that, it's like, really, we pick our parents. I'm like, I think so, because like they have something that we kind of need to work on, and we'll get that by being a reflection of them in this moment, and we also need to help them. So it's like that relationship is changing too. It'll be interesting to, of course, see where it goes, and I'm of course super hopeful for it. We have the North Node coming into Cancer, so I think that with the North Node going through Leo and the North Node coming through Cancer, it's really healing that dynamic.
Yeah.
Like a lot of like childhood, like trauma stuff in childhood, I guess the times where we have to go back and like we have to go back and save ourselves because like that's why we have to do like this shadow work, especially with our childhood. That's why it's coming up a lot in spiritual communities. That North Node coming through Leo and it'll be coming through Cancer. It's about learning to look at those moments, finding the golden there, finding that shadow, and then revealing the child that's there, and bringing them back into. It's like, it's okay. We can heal and we can move forward. Like that's kind of where the focus is. So it's a very deep interaction because this is a huge theme of like our heart and then generations, because Cancer rules the ancestors. This is generational wounds that are about to be healed, and it's tough because a lot of it is being opposed with this Pluto and what was Mars, but now it's back in Aquarius, and the Saturn influence. When the North Node comes there, it is going to give us this relief, but it's also like the North Node, sometimes it's hard to tap into that energy, or sometimes it's hard to see that because that's the destiny. That's where we're heading to. That's where we're going to.
Right.
That's what we kind of want to aspire to. Sometimes it's hard to tap into that energy because we can be afraid. We can listen to the masses, what other people think. And not that we don't want to consider what other people think, but we do live this life for ourselves, But like I said, Saturn being exalted in Libra, it's still talking about this ultimate like justice and harmony and working through things if you need to. Really showing, honestly, people like the reason why we're so obsessed with like movies where it's like it's like like we're clinging on for life. This is human society. It's like a dystopian future, but we want to persevere and make it through. And then we have to overcome all of our past issues, so we can survive in the now. That's Saturn and Libra. That's like us, like having to make hard decisions, but having also to come together and ultimately try and find some type of peace. Because yeah, that's that whole like kind of like Libra, Scorpio, Sag vibe. That whole energy right there. It's like this energy where we have to kind of go through this replenishing cycle, but then we also realize, oh my goodness, like I'm freaking awesome. I am freaking amazing, and so are you. And that's what we're here to do, to show people that hey, you can do it too. I did it. You can do it too. So.
That's yeah. I definitely think like this will definitely be a new year. Just like I'm just thinking like as like some of the energies will go back direct and like as we just enter the new year and it's just like I just feel like it's gonna be such a refresher. Like it's gonna feel like a tangible like relief. I feel like not even a
no, it definitely will be.
But it's just like I mean, I feel like we always, you know, set like New Year's resolutions and all of these things, but like this energy with, you know, like I said, Pluto and Capricorn in this, Pluto and Saturn in Capricorn, you know, really wanting to actually create not just change, but sustainable, long-term, like legendary change. It's just like, it's just I've been feeling this way since like the beginning of the year, but I'm just like it's such a time to be alive. Like
it really is though.
This
really
is the time to be here. So it's just like even when it's hard and it's just, I guess it sounds just like you're just saying that like it's easy to say, oh, it'll be worth it, or you know, we work through our fears, but like
it's a legendary time because with all these energies coming in, we have to realize that, you know, our software is updated constantly, but the hardware of the human body hasn't really been updated mostly. And that interface, we have to realize that that's why these times seem kind of weird and stuff like that, is because the interface between these software spiritual downloads interfacing with this hardware, it's like that's why it's like a buffer effect. That's why it's like we take a while to go through these cycles. That's why like it takes time to process these energies. Yeah. It takes time for us to accurately manifest what we are really feeling and like wanting to manifest. So it's a buffer time. So it can be frustrating, but it's also exciting. It's really on the edge. It's also like this great adventure is laid before us. You know, especially with Jupiter coming back into Sagittarius. And the thing about the new year is that Mars goes into Aries right at the new year. So it really actually will feel like a new year, even though the astrological new year won't happen until the sun reaches Aries. This year, New Year is actually going to feel like the new year. Like the holidays this year are going to actually feel like the holidays. I didn't feel like, and maybe because I've worked during the holidays, but it's like even just the energy and the vibe the last couple of years, it didn't really feel like the holidays.
Yeah.
Right? Saturn was in Sag. But it's like this is going to be the first time where it's going to actually kind of feel like the holidays. It's going to be nice, whether you follow like traditional holidays and stuff, but just the time of year, the energy, the warmth that we're going to be creating during this time by coming together, at least here, of course, in the northern hemisphere when it's winter, and the southern hemisphere where they'll be going into summer. But it's this time of gathering this warmth and celebration of what we already have, what's already here in front of us.
Right.
Like, yeah, we can grow and manifest more and have more money and have more things and stuff. But it's like all the tools you have are right here. And all the people that, your tribe is here too. Mm-hmm. That's what's awesome about the internet. It's like connecting with people in the tribe and kind of just doing your little bit. These collaborations, I think, are very important just so we can really start talking to each other again. Because I feel like we've all done this before and we're all already great friends, but like now it's like we have to come back together.
Yeah, that is exactly, I guess, how I feel it. Even as you were speaking, it just hit me that we're also moving into the white dog season of love within the Mayan astrology within these holidays. So it's like it's definitely a time of reconnecting, and not just a shallow, like, oh, hello, we're speaking for the one time in the year that we say hello and we're nice to people. No, we're completely restructuring the way that we're going to engage with people. Yeah. And I feel like this may have to happen, or not have to, but it may happen with us having to have some plot twists, having some sort of shocking things maybe happening within our societal, global stage. So it's just like, I'm just like holding my breath, because I'm just like, I know that there's a change, but I know that as humans, like I was saying, we don't change unless we're triggered to, unless we're called to act. And so I'm just like, what is going to call us to act? What is going to call us to engage with each other more? And I'm hoping it's not something too intense, but I'm just like wanting to start it now with, building that now, so that hopefully, because like I said, the universe only gives us what we need and ask for. So if we need and ask for something stronger, it will give us something stronger. So I hear the message. I'm just like, all right, let's put it out there. We are definitely each other. We're showing each other the sides of ourselves, and especially when we're triggered, the parts of us that we're just like, we're not accepting. We think something's wrong with that, and we're not even accepting of it when we're doing it ourselves, especially when we're thinking of our anger and thinking of like our opinions. And even, I guess, what just came to mind of like, we're all just so opinionated, and yet not wanting to accept other opinions, and yet we want our opinion accept. It's just, it's just like
weird thing. No, it happened with us today. It's like there's straddling this balance between sticking to who you are and stuff like that, but also, of course, being compassionate to other people's opinions and being open to other people's opinions. It's this weird line that we're learning to straddle right now. Yeah. So it's hard to encapsulate it. It's hard to really kind of put it in words. We do the best we can. I think, we obviously show to ourselves that we believe in ourselves. We don't always act it out, but we definitely show ourselves a lot via the media that we have, and even in the actions that we do. So it is about bringing that more back, that kind of making the whole year like a holiday, or like not the holiday, but just like that warmth, that energy where you celebrate, and like you celebrate each other. I mean, I know we have to have seasons, of course, and we have to go through these cycles, these times, but it's about establishing that consideration, that camaraderie, that's the word I'm looking for, to bring back that camaraderie back into the world. I think that's what we're learning on how to do. And it's a process.
Yeah, it's a process, but I feel it's a process we've always been, or not always, but we've been in for a while. And it's just like, not necessarily just coming to its head, but it's like, when I even just think of what, when we think of, I guess, the hierarchy, the way it has to come from, when you even think of light before it comes to matter, like we're going through the process, like internally, we're going through it with ourselves, and now it's just reaching the point where now it's actually going to manifest. It's actually going to action is going to actually spark. And I guess that's that part where it's like, even as we are transforming, even as the planet, like everything is transforming, so that there is this reconnection to ourselves, like this planetary consciousness, really. So,
no, definitely. I like this. I knew that this conversation was going to be like that we can just talk about. And I'm sure, I don't know if we've lost people. I apologize if we've lost anyone. But I just hope you guys are appreciating the talk, and just, and of course, I encourage you to really see everything as wanting to encourage you. Even moments in your life or situations with either like people or maybe a job or whatever, even with yourself, the way you treat yourself, that it's actually the universe kind of like egging you on, encouraging you to keep moving. That's why I say keep moving forward, stay focused, smile often. And I've been trying to figure out, of course, like what each aspect means for me and stuff like that. So it's like, keep moving forward. I feel like it's like, I feel like we're obviously always moving forward, and we can even focus on the past, but we're still moving forward.
Right.
That's what I feel. to stay focused, like sometimes we can be so focused on one thing, and there's nothing wrong with that because through that focus, beautiful things can come out. But then sometimes we forget about our periphery, so we have to figure out the balance between those two.
Right.
And also learning what to stay focused on and stuff like that. It's not so much staying focused on like maybe making a lot of money, but focusing on what is it that makes you happy. And then that's how you attract that natural abundance.
Right.
And then smile often. I just think the world needs more smiling. Honestly, it's I saw it somewhere where it's like yoga for the mouth, smiling.
Right.
And I was like, I love that. That's great. That's what smiling is. It's like you actually, when I actually did this as an experiment, but it's like I like well, actually, it actually wasn't. Well, it was an experiment after an awareness I had, but like I just smiled like randomly, right, one night, and I noticed this full wave of energy through my body. Like I actually felt it. Like I was like, whoa, what was that? And then I barely did it again. Like I barely curled them up, and I felt the wave again. And I was like, wow. So smiling actually does raise your vibration, even in moments. Not that I wasn't even in a bad moment in that time, but even if you are in a bad moment, smiling can actually help you get through that time. Not that you're trying to put on a face, but it's like it's medicine for your soul.
Yeah.
So that's why you know that's that whole how that comes through for me. It's like keep like smile often. It's like smile often, even when you're like crawling through the dirt or crawling through the ashes, looking for some revival, and you'll find it. It's there. The transformation is there. The phoenix feather is always there. But it's like sometimes we get so focused on trying to find it in a certain way, and then it's like we have to kind of like let go. No, we have to let go and let be. So it's a very interesting time, and we're all processing it in our own ways. But this is the time to be here. That's for sure.
Yeah. But oh man, like yeah, even as you were talking, I was just like, you're right. Maybe some of the things we were talking about might have been out there. But I mean, I was looking forward to this because I'm like, even as I was saying, like this energy is we're embracing this. We need to embrace this higher. And it's not even I feel Pluto is the destructor of hierarchy. The idea that there is a higher, lower, best and worst, and like it's just being able to acknowledge all of that is, and just like it's just like I said, there's just really no words for it. And I hope if anything, like this talk was able to like put out that sort of energy, or even I guess bring that sort of wonder to even wonder like what is it that they're talking about, like how is it that they're reaching that sort of understanding or whatever it is. Because
it's because like I mean Pluto with it being in Capricorn, like I don't know if it's like established, but I like to think that Pluto is exalted in Capricorn, which is hard because Capricorn rules traditions, and sometimes we like to hold on to traditions, but it's like in order for society to have gotten to where it is, we've had to build, destroy, build, destroy, build, destroy. Now we built to this other point. Now it's time to destroy again. But we'll keep rising. We'll keep taking the bar higher and higher and higher. So it's like it's this weird catch-22, which is why Scorpio and Capricorn energy sextile, they get along. So it's like, it is this weird process where it's like we are building, destroying, building, destroying, building, destroying. And it's like now we can feel and we know society can't really continue the way that's continuing right now. What is the next step?
Mm-hmm.
Where do we go from here? Like, how can we look at value and what we're grateful for and what we have in a new way? That's why Uranus is in Taurus. So let's come back in Aries because we still have to figure out what that means for us.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm sure you see it because you say you have your Uranus conjunct Neptune.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. So in the first house, you said?
The third.
Third house. The third house. Yeah. So yeah. So you definitely feel this energy. You're really kind of like acting it out. So I'm sure it's kind of like a day by day energy, what we're going through. It's like we kind of can see what's coming, but you do have to kind of take it day by day. And like every day just feels like it feels short but long simultaneously. It's like a whole like story or a whole novel can be fit into every day. And it's like, wow, what's tomorrow going to bring? What's tomorrow going to bring? And it's exciting, especially when you learn to open up to yourself, open up to this source, work with it and heal and like help other people, or at least radiate that love outwards.
Yeah.
Which I feel like is how we naturally help people.
Mm-hmm.
It's like you don't have to try and save the world and stuff like that, but you can just do your little part, and it really does go a long way. It's such a domino effect. It really is. You don't have to have a platform with 1 million people, but that's great and it's beautiful. And I think when you reach platforms like that, you do have a level of responsibility, but we do like these people and stuff like that. Not there's anything wrong with it, but we do that whole pedestal thing where they're the hero and then we're the one who's like the damsel in distress and stuff like that. But it's like that's why when certain individuals like they have these moments where they fall, where they have all this influence, you see this great backlash. And I'm like, you're human. One of my favorite examples is Kanye. I love Kanye. I love Kanye. Which is ironic because I'm a Scorpio and he's a Gemini. So it's like Scorpio and Gemini don't necessarily see eye to eye. It's the awkward stare from across the room. That's what I describe at king cunts.
Yeah, yeah.
Awkwardly looking at them across the room. And it's like, it's this energy where it's like, I don't get what you're doing, but I am kind of intrigued by it. But it's like, I love Kanye. I love his authenticity, his openness. He's very musically gifted, obviously. He's a genius. He says he's a genius, so I believe he's a genius.
Yeah, like
people have their things about Kanye. I'm like, I like Ye. I love Ye. I think he's definitely here showing people how to really be themselves. And actually, when you go through these periods where you go through a retraction phase, how you can rise from it. I feel like he's rising from it. I really do. Some people might not see that, but I think he's really rising from this period of the last 5 to 6 years, and we're all rising from it in our own way. It's just Kanye is like he has a larger platform and a wide influence, so I know other people would kind of get, understand the metaphor. One might not necessarily get it, but I'm like, what do you think about that? Just like the whole that Gemini energy playing into all this.
I always I really honestly started off not really having an opinion about Kanye when I first found out about him, and I never really listened to his music that much until maybe 2 or 3 albums in. And even I guess after the Hurricane Katrina, Bush, that whole moment, even then he wasn't really on my radar. So I guess for me it really wasn't a situation of putting him on a pedestal, I guess, the way that many other people may have felt, they kind of did. And so as he came into what I consider his more magical self, where he was just testing out the limits and testing out what's real, what's not, being willing to be the fool, being willing to see what the potentiality is. And if he falls flat on his face, then he falls flat on his face. But it's that doesn't even stop him. And it's it's just, he's all mutable. So it's he represents the possibility of being able to change. And if that doesn't work out, then you can do something different and you can change your mind. And it's just I feel like he's just a huge representation of people being afraid to not only change, but being afraid to admit when they're wrong, being afraid to make a mistake, being afraid to do, it's just worrying so much about even what other people think, but it's not, it all even comes back to what we think about ourselves. And it's just, everything always comes back to us. That's the way
it always does, right? And it's just you have to be willing to be the fool. You have to be willing to embarrass yourself, because as you do more of that, you really do begin to uncover more of who you are. That's why major arcana starts with the fool. It's oh, you have to be foolish to walk off that cliff. It's well, you don't know if you're going to just keep walking, and there's a platform that you can't see. You don't know if you're going to fall down and jump off the trampoline. You don't know if you're just going to fall into the water. Yeah, there might be times where you walk off that cliff and you fall on some rocks, but you pick yourself back up, right? And stuff. And I guess sometimes we're afraid of the moments where we won't pick ourselves back up. Yeah. But it's you do have to put yourself in those situations. And sometimes when you fall, it's okay to stay on the ground for an extended period of time. Sometimes we're on the ground for a day. Sometimes you're on the ground for a month. And you're just sometimes you need to just sit there and ponder. And hopefully during that time you're watching the clouds go by. It's that one looks like an elephant. That one looks like a tree. That one looks like that. You just like, you start to be a little bit playful about it. It's like, all right, well, I can get up, dust myself off, and I can go do it. I can go do it again in a different way. You can be innovative. You allow that curiosity and that artistry to kind of come through.
Yeah,
So,
I mean, he for me even is a big test for the conditions for which we love, you know, because people love Kanye, then they hate him. When he comes around to their point of view, he's coming back around. And when he turns back, he's going back off. Like, it's just like watching it for me, it's just like, it's so funny because I'm just like, you guys love him when he's like doing this, but when he's doing this, it's like, and I understand that's normal, but it's like, do you guys see how like it's the same? Like, all of it brings us back to how like we're not able to acknowledge that like someone else's perspective, we don't have to like it, but it's there. Like, it exists. They exist, so their opinion it exists. It's like we want to like invalidate what we don't agree with. And so it's just like when someone like a Gemini is unwilling to be silenced, unwilling to be put back on the back burner.
yeah.
It's that annoying cosmic troll. Like, I see him as like one of our hugest cosmic jokes because it's just like we want, like I was telling you, we want this acceptance. We want to be able to be ourselves. We talk about how we want to be able to not care about what other people think, and then we turn around and we're like, you need to care about what people think. And it's just like, yeah, it's just being able to acknowledge that like underlying yet apparent lesson that, you know, or lessons, you know.
Yeah. It's interesting. The blue moon of Neptune said, I believe he is getting cosmically upgraded and having a hard time.
Yeah.
With dealing with the energy. He's a pioneer. Learn from him. And I think that's very true. Geminis are very much so. I mean, you think of Sagittarius as the adventurer. So in many ways, they can be like the pioneers. But Gemini is opposite Sagittarius. It's very much so a pioneer too, especially when it comes to the mind, especially when it comes to like the community. Mm-hmm. That's why people like they can like you can build like these great communities with like this Gemini energy and it become very fluid. It's mutable air. So it's like, yeah, sometimes you have to like try different things and you have to like do things a certain way. And it's like, all right, well, let's test this out. Let's test this experiment out. And that's the cool thing about Gemini is that they're not really afraid to push the boundaries either. They're not really afraid to allow their curiosity to guide them. Sometimes like it's like, oh wow, that was interesting. That kind of transpired in the way I didn't think was going to happen. But okay, well, it's not necessarily going to stop them, you know. And so he has a very adventurous spirit, and yeah, it is kind of like he is showing us his major reflection of where society is and who we are and how we want to be accepted and how we want to, you know, want to be accepted by other people, but we still have to accept ourselves. Are we willing to be open and vulnerable with ourselves and authentic and accept ourselves and put ourselves really out there? So it's like, sometimes it's hard to do that, but you have to embrace it. You have to put yourself out there. You have to be brave. You have to have courage. And that's what he and not just him, but many people, us included, doing this live talk. You have to have bravery and courage to put yourself out there, you know. And I know I've done probably like when I do my videos, I usually don't do more than one take. Just let it flow. There was one today I was doing, and I actually stopped it and I redid it, and it was the Libra video. And I was like, I don't normally do this, but it just did not feel right. So I honored it, and I just went for it, and it was a much better. It just felt better and stuff like that. So there's nothing wrong with doing that. Nothing wrong with taking one take. Nothing wrong with going back and making revisions. Just don't stop creating. Don't stop like just not expressing yourself, or at least your personal truth, because then that's what we're trying to learn right now. That's why it feels like there's a lot of pressure, but something beautiful will blossom from it.
Yeah. If life just didn't feel, I don't want to say it. It sounds like to make light of like something that feels very, not just feels, but is very real. But like if we just honored, I guess, a bit more humor. And I guess just even as I was talking about the video game, it's just, I guess it's easy for me to say it as people are like, I guess, meeting me now. Because it's just like, this is not the same Jasmine like 5 years ago. I was the ball of anxiety, and it's just like honoring, like I said, being able to be that full. And even what came to my mind was even in some of like the Lover's card depiction is, you know, this like, you know, Adam and Eve kind of story. And it's like when we get to the heart of it is the curiosity. Curiosity is what led to understanding, oh, there's a difference. Like, you know, having a new level of discernment is what brought this supposed, you know, sin of being able to recognize what was right and wrong. And so I do feel Gemini is representative of being able to, you know, pioneer, but, you know, acknowledge that different perspective and be able to act on it or create on it or speak on it, whatever it is that they, you know, create from it, from that understanding or from just that, you know, that experience. And so, yeah, I feel like pioneer Kanye, like, yeah, definitely is like not just, for me, he represents someone who is believing what he says. Like,
yeah,
people say a lot of stuff, and even when we talk about rappers, people rap a bunch of stuff. But when he raps, I know he believes that. I know, like, he's not, like, he believes, even as crazy as it sounds, even, like, his most recent song he put out with, like, I think Lil Pump, I was like, he believes this. Like, and it's like, he is raunchy, and that's who he is. And it's like, people get upset, and I'm like, I think we're upset because we don't think we can be that. We don't think we can be a wholesome person without making mistakes, without being wrong, without being supposedly bad. Like, we think we only get to play one part. And even as you were talking about earlier, and it's something I've like written down and I wanted to maybe like get as a tattoo, was the like, we play all the parts. Like no one plays just the hero. No one plays just the bad guy. No one plays just this one facet. Like, that's acknowledging the multidimensionality of ourselves. And so it's like, yeah, it's just so much where I feel like he's that representation for me of someone who's starting to acknowledge, like, he is this supposedly messed up person. He is, even one of his songs, he was talking about, I'm bipolar and that's my superpower. And I'm like, exactly. He's like, yes, he's fully embracing that. He's communicating it. And he's just like, he's so magical.
That's totally fish tart, because why people are like, why would you say that about yourself? I'm like, we are a lot of these different personalities. And I feel this, it comes through because it's like, you think of the persona and ego, in many ways it's kind of ruled by that Aries energy.
Yeah.
And I have that as my fifth house. So it's like,
okay.
I know that I am a bunch of these different characters in this novel, and I've tried writing stories about them and stuff, and it comes through. And I've gone as far as done astrology for some of my characters. Like, I came up with the birthday and actually like looked at their astrology, and I was like, I kind of see where I was going actually and stuff like that. But it's just a fun little game I play with myself. But we are all these different things. And I guess sometimes we get so focused into I am this or I am that. And it's like, and like, there's nothing, of course, wrong with that. You like knowing who you are and stuff, but also realizing that, you know, we can be a lot of things and we are everything. You know, you're not just the car you drive or the house that you have or the kids that you have, or, you know, the material objects, the, you know, the job that you work. We're the simple small things too, like the really small things. We're like that little thing that we hit our toe on, like getting out of bed, or even that. It's like, why would I do that to myself? I was like, yeah, well, you know, sometimes we need like these little moments to like kind of jolt some aspect of ourselves so we can, you know, kind of get running again.
Right.
So it's a weird way of looking at it. It's like, how can it's like, am I the tree? Am I the rock? I'm like, yeah, you are actually. It's all a reflection and stuff. And I feel like I've been these things. I know I've been certain animals for sure. So that's how you can begin to like vibe with these things too. So, yeah, we got pretty deep on this and stuff. I hope people were able to follow. Yeah. I just love that. I love like your video game analogies and stuff, because I very much so look at it like that too. It was like we were definitely in a video game, and we created like this avatar. It's like this really incredible, massive multiplayer online game.
Right.
It's like that's why when I saw the PC dealer talking about how it pretty much is like that, he was like weaving in these video game metaphors with the what was it, the oh crap, I'm trying to remember the exact series. Oh, the World War Zero, the
Yeah.
World War Zero series. Yeah, I was like, wow, this is all very, very true. I can definitely feel that. And how
Yeah.
we're going to like this next level. It's
Mm-hmm.
really fun, and it's like, oh, I'm excited to see what's going to happen. And it's like, yeah, there will be challenges, but I think we can overcome them, especially when we start to put ourselves out there more, connecting with individuals that remind us of who we are
Mm-hmm.
and who we are becoming too. I think was like we're human doings, but we're not human beings, and
Right.
I'm not the originator of that because that's like I've heard that other places, but it's like that is true. Like we do a lot of things, but like when you actually be something, that's how you really become it. That's how you really attract it. You just be it. It's like how do you be multi-million-dollar musical artist by like you just be you go into that being. It's a verb. Like you actually do it, even if you may suck at first, even if you may suck for a while. And some of the people seem to pick it up faster than you. That's really where your heart's resonating. You will achieve that success.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the whole Pluto, Capricorn, Saturn here, Mars going into Capricorn, coming out, and then of course the South Node going into Capricorn, which is going to be quite interesting to see
Yeah.
how that affects our society and structure. Definitely going to be some plot twists. Um, we've been talking for quite a while. I feel like it's almost been like an hour and a half, maybe a little bit longer.
Oh wow.
I know time just kind of flies. It's crazy. Um, well, any like final thoughts or words for the audience? Any words of encouragement that you have for people watching, or and also where can people reach you if they want to get a reading?
Yeah. I mean, as far as like any last words, I mean, honestly, kind of what I had said earlier, because I had actually pulled, well, because I mean, I pull cards, I do the collective readings, and I mean, I don't ever really go in with like, I want to just be able to present this particular message. It's just, what is the message that we most need to receive? And that's usually what I go in, and that's how I, receive whatever needs to be spoken. And what just keeps coming up time and time again is about not being afraid to supposedly make any wrong choices, because the right choice, you'll feel the right choices that need to be made. And even then, you always have a chance to choose again. It doesn't mean you go back in time to like redo that moment, but that whatever is meant to meet you, or whatever whatever your goal you're supposed to be reaching, it's not going to miss you. And it's just like, it doesn't matter like how quote unquote bad of a person you think you are, or even how good of a person you think you are. I promise you, like, it really does not matter. If you are living what is your supposed path, if you're just going through what you're supposed to be going through, like you're being present as opposed to trying to escape what is happening, it'll just be much easier, because like I was saying, or like how we've been saying, this all is divinely orchestrated and divinely planned. And what's been coming strongly, even for the card that I keep pulling, is I believe it's the Victory of Miriam card. And the ultimate message, it really is like, what you are trying to achieve has already been achieved. Like, we're in this, if you want to look at it in like a linear way, we're in this past. Like, the physical is the last step. We're just reaching where what we're dreaming of. We're already there. We're just trying to catch up. And as you were saying, like the software is in. It's now the hardware that has to come in, and our bodies are coming into it. Now our communities, the earth, everything is coming into it, and it takes time. And so
It's a evolution that we're all going through, not just us individually, but yeah, Mother Gaia too. That's why Uranus is here. It'll be going through this space because yeah, people like to say, oh yeah, Uranus is the rebel. It's about innovation and the internet. I like to think of Uranus also as like a time traveler because you have to think it rules Aquarius energy, and Saturn, you know, it's a traditional ruler of Aquarius. So it's also this time traveling energy as where it's like, yeah, like it's kind of like you have to give yourself pep talks. You know, you have to give yourself the pep talk to make it through different things. And you have to even go back and give a pep talk to that time where you fell off the bike when you were 10. Because like you might not have seen in that moment, but there was probably some aspect of you that was whispering to you, it's like, it's okay, you can get back up. And you get back up, and it's like, you know, we have to, you know, we have to realize that, you know, this is a process. It's going to take time, but we can work together and while still also honoring our truth, like that, and learning that balance and learning that integration really is really, you know, what's happening here. I think it's, we're all, like I said, playing it out in different ways. But where can people reach you to get a reading? Actually, I'm sure like I can just go ahead and tell you all. Just like I haven't gotten a reading myself, but I definitely will have to do so. Just that Gemini energy, definitely she's going to be channeling all kinds of divine wisdom. I can just go ahead and tell you that off the bat. And of course, with that Pluto first house, you know it's going to be like. There's probably going to be some action that you like. It's just going to be a beautiful thing, I think. She'll definitely help you to unlock some secrets that you thought were scary, but probably the way that I feel is that you'll probably present to people. It's like, oh well, it's not that scary. Like it's challenging, but it's like you can do it. You can overcome it. So
Yeah, it's been really interesting. Even I guess the challenge hasn't been for me to. Let's not even phrase it that way. It's not even that I haven't had to work, but it's really having to even honor the messages that come through. Because, like I was even saying, like all of what I say is because I felt it. Like I recognize the reflection, and so like we think that we need like so much like to say, oh, like that's divine wisdom, but it's like I just have to realize like apparently I just be dropping gems and I don't even recognize. So it's like having to acknowledge that has been like a true like humbling experience. But reaching me, you can find me on my website at gladiatorinsweats.com, or you can also reach me on Instagram. Those are pretty much that and YouTube, of course. So 3 places where you can really reach me. I used to do daily content, but now I've been feeling more drawn to working not just with people more intimately, but I feel oftentimes I'll draw myself sparse, and I feel like I can bring a lot more quality if I focus just on like really going in when it feels right, as opposed to feeling like I got to put something out every day. So yeah, right now I've been just more putting it out when I feel called to. So that's what I've been doing, and I feel like that's been working. So yeah, I have regular content. I try to make a lot of my content like available because I just don't think what people consider secrets or like world or the universal secrets should be secrets. So I don't think people should have to like go broke for it. I don't think people should. I just don't. So I really want to make as much of this wisdom, I guess, possible and available. And if people want one-on-one time, obviously that's something we can accommodate. And I'm really trying to make everything just accessible because I especially know that feeling of wanting to be able to speak with someone, but feeling like having someone tell you, oh, it's because your relationship with money is not adequate. That's why you're not able to pay this amount of sum to me. It's like, no, like you kind of have to meet people where they're at.
yeah, you do. Yeah, it's like, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's like I definitely feel that too. It's like I want to make this information accessible too, and I felt that where it's like I wanted to speak to certain people, and it's like you feel like, wow, man, I wish I could. I mean, and I'm sure I will, you know, talk to these individuals and stuff, but that whole relationship with finances and self worth and how that's coming through is another big theme right now. And of course, for me, all the energy is popping in my second house. Ooh. So, as far as the Capricorn energy, so I'm going through like this big self worth, self value. What do I like? I guess sort of relate to. What kind of gives me that security? I'm going through that lesson right now myself. So I want to make this accessible too. And yeah, I definitely encourage you all to get a reading with her. I'm sure she will probably knock your socks off and more. Just with the information she brings, I can just feel it already. Just in this conversation, just the way that it flowed, I was like, I know we're gonna have fun, and this most certainly won't be the last conversation we have. But yeah, guys, I think we're probably gonna head on out. But definitely utilize this. What is it? What wave spell we're in? It's the Blue Eagle, right?
Yes, the Blue Eagle wave spell.
Okay, so I'm gonna look that up more in depth, and actually kind of like look more into it. And while I was watching your video, so I'm gonna have to go back and actually finish that video. But utilize this spell to the best of your abilities, and utilize these, you know, these celestial energies to the best of your abilities. We all have a beautiful blueprint and a legend on how to, you know, navigate this map. So that's what I believe.
Yes.
That's what I believe. But thank you all so much for joining me, my beautiful brothers and sisters. We're going to get out of here. We've been rambling for a while, but it's okay. That's what happens when the conversation is good.
I loved it. It was fun.
It was awesome. It was great fun. But always remember, my beautiful brothers and sisters, to keep moving forward, to stay focused, and Yahoo! Smile often. Thank you. Thank you for joining me.